18 Republican governors have participated in Obamacare by expanding Medicaid. And overall, the Medicaid expansion, it's extended coverage to about 12 million of the 20 million newly insured people under the Affordable Care Act. So things could be pretty tricky for GOP governors who opted to expand Medicaid in their state. Mike Pence, he was one of them. But now that he's vice president-elect, he wants to repeal the whole thing. How about Florida Governor Rick Scott? He's also anti-Obamacare, but more than 1.5 million Floridians, they've purchased the insurance through Obamacare exchange. So what would happen to them? Andrew, I even saw within Florida, they polled the folks. They want to keep it. What does he do?
Well, we've been seeing that since the beginning of Obamacare. People hate Obamacare, or they have a lot of questions about it, but then you ask about the individual specific things that it does, and most of them have majority support. So I think Republican governors are going to have to tread very carefully. I don't think pre-existing conditions and the security for people with them can go away. I don't think the extension of young people up to age 26 on their parents' health insurance plan can continue.
We spoke to experts, Andrew. You can't keep that part and not keep the rest.
Well, I think they're going to find that out the hard way, because I think keeping the rest is what they can't do, because the whole requirement that you have insurance or you pay a penalty, that's really at the heart of the Republican objections to Obamacare. That has to go away. And whatever they wind up replacing it, assuming that they keep those pieces in place and they erode that mandate, the thing's going to collapse at some point.
The math doesn't add up.
The math doesn't add up. So
but it's not even close,
well,
right?
Here's what Pence did in Indiana. He said to the, as part of Obamacare, the very poorest, those near the poverty line, got to join into Medicaid, which was not originally for them, but for the purposes of getting health insurance. That was part of Obamacare. That was a good thing. Mike Pence brought it into Indiana with the condition that these poor people contribute something, $3, $10 a month. Because the problem is you can't pay to have no pre-existing conditions so that if you get sick, the insurance companies can't throw you off of their policy. You can't pay for having your kids up to 26 on your policy. You can't pay for subsidies to the middle class to get your health insurance. All these things that Americans love, unless you have more money coming into the system. That's why many of us were for Medicare for all and a single payer. And that's why it's going to be difficult for Republicans, even though they control the White House, Senate, and the House, to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something much different. My belief is that they will not repeal it. They will simply amend it to add some bells and whistles to give some states some flexibility, but basically keep the thing as it is. Otherwise, they're going to have to go to single payer.
And Dom, there's going to be a Republican governor who's going to pull it all together. And I think the challenge with Obamacare, imperfect though it may be, and I think people are surprised at how much their premiums may have gone up. I believe their small businesses have legitimate arguments with it. What they were never able to do is put a human face on it. For the first time, it's going to happen. Because all of a sudden, somebody's got it. They're going to lose it, and they're going to find out, wait a minute, all of a sudden, I can't get treatment for cancer or whatever else. I can't go to the ER and magically this takes care of it. And they're going to be screaming bloody murder, and the local news are going to be covering all the rest. This accidentally could do for the first time what President Obama was never able to do, which was to humanize his program. It's going to happen if they pull the plug, and I believe at least a few Republican governors will do it outright.
And what's remarkable, you would think that President Obama, who traveled America, to your point, would have been able to find any demographic you want for each select community, a face to humanize Obamacare. But you're right, they never did good at that. They botched the opening, remember the rollout. But I agree with the congressman. Trump is not going to end Obamacare. He's only going to modify it, and thus by modifying it, he'll give his Republican buddies, governors, cover, and they'll add some bells and whistles to individualize it for the states. But that's it. It's going to be one hand watching the other and protecting the other with Trump and Republican governors.
We're short on time, but isn't there a tipping point that he runs into where he's changed so many of his positions, Trump that is, since he's come in, that he's modified, whether it be torture, whether prosecuting Hillary, whatever, the people start to be like, wait a minute, who is this guy? What did he run at some point, doesn't he have to deliver something?
Climate change is another one. I mean, there's a long list. I think people give him a lot of leeway because he's still making the argument that I'm learning, I'm new to this, I'm not a politician, I'm from the outside, give me a chance. And I think that that's going to play for a period of time until it doesn't. If you recall, President Obama kept blaming George W. Bush until people started to say, hey, you know, wait a minute, you know, there's only so much you can blame. And I think you're right. There's going to be a tipping point at which people say, you know, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, or I'm sorry to say this, 6 years, what Trump's in there where he's not going to be able to use this argument
on
anymore.
That note, Jeannie,
that was for
thank
you,
guys.
Richard.
Yes, I know. Thank you all. We're going to have local headlines straight ahead. We'll be right back.